Unlock your day. The one prayer you need to begin every morning now. It was a chill morning in Maplewood when the unthinkable happened. Sarah woke, as usual, to the sound of her phone vibrating on the nightstand. But today was different. The air felt electric, charged with an unknown energy. Outside, an eerie fog clung to the trees, wrapping them in a shroud of mystery. As she stepped outside, a chilling breeze whispered through the leaves, sending shivers racing up her spine. Little did she know, this was no ordinary day. The townspeople were gathering at the old church, each one bearing the same look of astonishment mixed with fear. Rumors had spread like wildfire. Some said a stranger had arrived in town, a mysterious figure who claimed to know secrets that could change lives forever. What kind of secret could be so potent? What could this one prayer promise that no one had known before? The questions tightened around her mind, squeezing like a vice. As she approached the church, the atmosphere felt heavy, as if the very air held its breath. Shadows flickered in the stained glass windows, casting ghostly shapes on the ground. The church bell tolled ominously, echoing in the silence that seemed to wrap around her like a cloak. Inside, the chatter was frantic, voices rising and falling like tidal waves. There was no mistaking it. Something extraordinary was happening. Just then, a figure stepped forward, an elderly man with piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold the weight of ages. He spoke with a voice that resonated deep within her, sending chills coursing through her veins. This prayer, it will unveil your truth and lead you to your destiny. But beware, for with enlightenment comes darkness. The room fell silent. People exchanged nervous glances, the tension palpable. Was this prayer a gift or a curse? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Sarah's heart raced as the man continued. This one prayer can change your life forever, but it demands a price. The suspense hung thick in the air. What was the price? Curiosity clawed at her. The room was filled with uncertainty, like a storm brewing just beyond. Then he raised his hands and invited everyone to join him. Are you ready to unlock your day? As voices rose in a chorus of yes, Sarah felt doubt creep in. Was she truly ready to unlock something that might forever alter her path? As she pondered, a sudden crash echoed from the back of the church, snapping her from her thoughts. Gasps erupted. What was that? Whispers of fear rippled through the crowd, their eyes wide, some now glancing toward the darkened entrance. What waited in the shadows? What would Sarah choose? The answers loomed just out of reach, promising a journey she couldn't back away from now. The noise reverberated through the church, a crash followed by an unsettling silence. All eyes snapped to the entrance, where shadows clung like thick cobwebs. A chill swept through the room, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still. Sarah's heart pounded against her ribs, a wild drumbeat of uncertainty and dread. Slowly, an old door creaked open. The air shimmered, and light spilled in, illuminating a figure shrouded in the thick mist that had wrapped the morning. A murmur rippled through the congregation, a mix of gasps and anxious whispers. Who or what was emerging from the darkness? As the figure stepped into the light, Sarah squinted. It was a woman, her eyes wild, mouth trembling as if caught in a perpetual state of fear. She wore a tattered dress, frayed at the edges, as though she had run a long, desperate race. Her presence was magnetic, drawing everyone's gaze while sending prickles of unease up and down Sarah's spine. The stranger took a shaky breath, seeming to gather strength. You all need to listen. Her voice, though shaky, carried a fierce urgency. He is here, the man with the prayer. He is not who he says he is. Gasps erupted from the crowd, and Sarah's stomach dropped. What did she mean? The old man, he looked wise, like he had seen the world in all its facets. But had he been hiding something darker beneath that calm exterior? Please. The woman pressed on, stepping further into the room. I've seen him. I've heard him whispering. He's not offering you salvation, but a curse. A ripple of unrest spread through the assembly. The older man's expression shifted from welcoming to thunderous. Enough, he bellowed, his voice a whip crack through the charged air. You know nothing of what you speak. Leave now, before the shadows consume you. The chaos that followed was palpable. Some townsfolk backed away, fear etched on their faces, while others surged toward the strange woman, desperate for answers. What do you know? They demanded, their voices loud, frantic. Sarah felt her pulse race again, torn between the frantic energy swirling before her and the pull of the unknown that lingered in the town's corners. The woman's wide eyes locked on Sarah's those eyes, filled with an urgency and desperation that snared her. Every instinct screamed for her to stay, to unravel the truth. Among the shouts and confusion, the old man's look turned steely, a blend of thinly veiled rage and determination. You will regret believing the lies. He spat, then turned to the woman, fearlessly approaching her. You are playing with fire. Everyone held their breath, tension crackling in the room. Would a confrontation ignite? Suddenly, the church's doors slammed shut as if by an unseen force. A wave of panic washed over Sarah, and the strange woman cried out, He has sealed us in. We can't escape until truths are revealed, until the prayer is unlocked. Sarah gripped the pew in front of her, her mind racing. What was the truth? What was lurking beneath the surface of this gathering? There was a price to be paid, that much was clear. She had a choice to make. Would she join the woman in seeking the truth, or would she stand in the shadows, where safety felt deceptively comforting? The air felt charged, alive with anticipation. A decision loomed before her like a darkening storm, and deep down, she could sense that something wicked this way came. What awaited them in the threads of fate woven by the prayer? And would Sarah expose the truth, or would darkness consume them all? As the doors thundered shut, a palpable wave of fear crashed over the congregation, freezing them in place. Whispers morphed into murmurings, and Sarah's heart raced, thrumming in her chest like a caged bird desperate to escape. She glanced around, seeing the expressions of her neighbors contorting into masks of panic. Some darted nervous glances toward the windows, while others pressed against the walls, seeking any possible way out. Please, the woman cried, her hands trembling as she gestured wildly. You need to understand. He is here among us. Get a grip, barked an elder in the back, his voice dripping with sarcasm, yet laced with trembling uncertainty. Do you think this is a game? The woman's eyes shone with desperation. The shadows are real. This isn't just talk. He calls to those with darkness in their hearts. The old man stepped forward, towering over the crowd, a thunderstorm brewing in his gaze. Enough of this nonsense. He pointed at the woman with a gnarled finger. Your madness will bring destruction upon us all. Leave this place before it's too late. But the stranger didn't flinch. Too late for what? She shot back, her voice rising. To let him keep feeding on your fears? The prayers he offers are chains disguised as hope. He has taken countless lives, and your faith blinds you. Sarah, almost involuntarily, took a step forward, her pulse racing faster. She felt the heat of the confrontation enveloping her, and she was drawn to the woman's fierce cry for help. It was as if she was witnessing a storm on the horizon, and she couldn't look away. With a sudden movement, the old man raised his hands, releasing a wave of energy that swept through the church like a gust of wind. We are safe, he declared with a booming confidence, yet Sarah could sense the tremor in his voice. Our faith protects us. This woman is not to be trusted. The air thickened with tension, and Sarah could hear her heart thundering in her ears as she processed the competing truths. The strange woman clawed at the air for attention, her desperate gaze roving across each face before landing on Sarah again. Help me, she implored, her voice breaking. I can show you, but you need to believe. Belief? Doubt crept in, and Sarah struggled to weigh her options. Before she could respond, an ear-splitting crack echoed from the walls, sending everyone reeling. The floor beneath them vibrated, and the very foundations of the church seemed ready to crumble at a flash of light burst from the old man, illuminating more than just the room. It felt like a revelation, casting shadows into sharp relief. You would not twist the truth, he shouted, but even he looked unsettled now. Just like that, a figure flickered in the far corner, emerging from the shadows like dark smoke forming into form. The creature's eyes glinted with malice, drawing gasps from the crowd once more. The church trembled, and Sarah's instincts kicked in. She had to choose. Stand beside the woman and risk the wrath of something ancient and sinister, or cling to the familiar, haunted by a reality cloaked in denial. "Make your choice, Sarah," cried the woman, her voice cutting through the whirlwind of panic. In that moment, fear and bravery danced dangerously close. The shadows laughed around them, as if offering a sinister invitation. What truth would Sarah uncover if she stepped forward? Or would she succumb to the darkness, watching eagerly, hungry for her decision? The shadows clung to the corners like cobwebs, thick and tenacious, as Sarah's mind raced. She could feel the air congealing around her, filled with dread and disbelief. Was there really something in those shadows? Or was it all just a trick of the light and an overactive imagination fueled by fear? "Sarah!" The woman's voice sliced through the thick tension, dripping with urgency. "You must believe. You're not just a spectator. You're meant for more." The flickering figure in the corner swirled, darkening the atmosphere further. Its eyes gleamed like embered coals, boring into her, engulfing her thoughts in a haze. A collective gasp erupted from the congregation as the creature shifted, revealing more of its form-sharp angles, monstrous and ethereal. It was like staring into a nightmare, the kind that leaves one breathless. "Now is the time. Choose." The old man roared, his once commanding presence faltering under the weight of fear and desperation, revealing cracks in his armor of confidence. With adrenaline surging through her veins, Sarah stepped closer to the woman, who was now the only beam of light in a room cloaked in darkness. "What I need to do," she whispered, heart pounding, as her breath escaped in shaky bursts. "Trust your instincts," the woman replied, a hint of hope flashing through her eyes. "Reach within. You have powers you don't even know yet. Together we can thwart this wretched thing." But as she began to step forward, the ground quaked violently beneath them. Screams erupted as wooden beams groaned, struggling against the pressure from the entity. People staggered, scrambling towards the exits, muscles taut with fear. "Do not flee," the old man shouted, raising his arms again. But his voice wavered, and even the congregation hesitated. In that moment, the threat of unbelievable darkness threatened to reclaim them all. A piercing wail echoed through the church, blood-curdling and raw. It reverberated off the walls, sending shivers racing down Sarah's spine. The creature twisted its shape, morphing into a grotesque caricature of torment, an embodiment of their collective fears. "Listen to me," the woman insisted, voice breaking through the chaos. "This being feeds on your darkest thoughts. We must unite. Your doubt gives it strength." With a shaky breath, Sarah closed her eyes, trying to silence the cacophony of terror screaming within her. Images flooded her mind, shadows of her regrets, fears that plague her, each one a thread feeding the darkness. She released a shaky breath and stepped forward once more, determination surging like an electrical current. Suddenly, the lights flickered wildly, flickering under the intensity of the confrontation. The windows rattled, and a whispering roar filled the air, words almost discernible in the hybrid of chaos and fear. "Join me." Sarah, the voice slithered through her like smoke, taunting, promising power. It would be so easy to submit, to let the darkness envelop her, to feel weightless as it consumed her. "No," she screamed, clenching her fists. I want to let fear take me. As if sensing her defiance, the figure lunged closer, its essence stretching, claws poised to strike. Desperation ignited in the air. Sarah could feel the heat radiating from the old man, pouring what was left of his energy into the room, clashing against the creature's wrath. Together, we can fight, the woman urged, eyes burning brightly with conviction. Sarah reached out. Their hands met, warmth spreading like fire, contrasting the chill encircling them. In that moment, she glimpsed something in the shadows and escape, a hidden truth buried beneath layers of fear. The air crackled with tension as the church quaked, and her heart raced. What lay beyond the darkness? What revelation awaited them? Now, the woman shouted, urging Sarah into the looming abyss. As they stood side by side, hands clasped, together they formed a barrier between the congregation and the encroaching creature. But would their combined strength be enough to withstand the overwhelming darkness? A terrifying choice loomed: plummet into the unknown or ignite their hidden potential. What would Sarah unleash? And would they break free from the chains of fear? The ground trembled once more, the old church groaning under the weight of chaos. Sarah's heart pounded painfully in her chest, matching the frantic rhythm of the world crumbling around her. She could feel the dark creature inching closer. Its icy breath touched her skin like a warning. Finding strength in the warmth of the woman's hand, Sarah closed her eyes tightly, letting the chaos swirl around her. Focus, her mind whispered, as panic gripped at her throat. What do I have within me? The moment clung to the air, suspended between fear and hope. The creature before them was gathering shadows, coiling like smoke, growing larger and angrier. Its eyes burned brighter, filling the space with a growing malevolence, radiating energy that made the congregation flinch. It's getting stronger, the old man shouted, sweat beading on his brow, as he fought against the consuming darkness. We must believe, all of us. The darkness cannot take what we refuse to give. His words cut through the fog of fear, igniting a flicker of determination. But would their voices be enough? The room erupted with shouts and terrified whispers as the congregation rallied, fighting the instinct to flee. Believe, they echoed, faces alight with doubt, yet dauntless in their resolve. It was a cry that built momentum, the dissonance of fear unwinding like thread in their hearts. Sarah focused on that chant, letting it seep into her veins, interwoven with the heat radiating from the woman beside her. They merged their energies, standing resolutely against the tide of despair. By the light within us, we can resist you, Sarah shouted, her voice shaking yet fierce, choked by the swirling darkness. The creature halted, snared in the unexpected tide of resolve. Its form flickered, rage twisting its features into something staggering, twisted mouth gnarled in fury, claws scraping the air, desperate for any sign of weakness within her. Foolish girls, it screeched, a sound that rattled the very foundations of the church. You cannot hope to defy me. I am the culmination of your fears. Your doubts, they feel my power. No, Sarah cried out, the fury building within her, channeling her past pain and loss into a determined rage. We are not what you think we are. Our strength does not lie in fear, but in unity. The shadows around them rippled, agitated, their coherence shattered by the surge of collective strength. She felt the warmth growing between her and the woman, pulsing, vibrant, igniting a flicker of light that seemed to pierce the darkness. Would it be enough? Suddenly, Sarah envisioned the truths buried deep inside her, moments where fear had once paralyzed her, now transforming into armor. It was as if her heart was fire, the darkness around them slowly losing its grip as they stood resolute. The creature hissed, spitting, "You are nothing. You together," the woman urged, her voice reverberating through the air, blending with the echoes of the crowd. "Let this be our power." In that instant, an explosion of light erupted from their clasped hands, pushing back against the shadows, lighting the room as if 1,000 suns broke through the darkness. Gasps filled the air, and Sarah's chest felt lighter. There was hope. But then, with an ear-splitting roar, the creature lunged, its fiendish claws outstretched, seemingly undeterred by the blast of light. A terrifying realization clawed at her heart. They weren't safe yet. "Keep the light alive," the woman shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. As Sarah grasped tighter, digging her nails into the warmth of their connection, fear slashed through her thoughts. Would they stand against it, or would it consume everything? With every ounce of courage, Sarah screamed for the congregation to keep their faith alive, to believe in the light as the creature surged forward, ready to strike. Would they prevail, or would the shadows envelop them all? As the creature lunged towards Sarah, a violent force tore through the air. What would break first? The darkness or their unity? The air crackled with tension as the creature barreled toward them, a mass of darkness and fury. Time seemed to stretch, every heartbeat echoing in Sarah's ears, the powerful thrum of hope battling against the surge of inevitable dread. The light they had summoned flickered, dimming beneath the sheer weight of the creature's relentless advance. "Don't let go," the woman beside her whispered through gritted teeth, her face a mask of determination. The warmth between them radiated like a safeguard, but it was teetering on the edge, too fragile against the encroaching night. The congregation was a swirling mix of terror and defiance. Eyes wide and trembling, faces turned toward the creature, nobody dared to look away. Each gasp seemed to feed the darkness, feeding its vile hunger for despair. "Together!" Sarah screamed again, her voice trembling but unyielding. "Fight with me. Keep believing." The old man rallied the crowd, raising his hands. "We must stand firm. We are not alone." As he spoke, Sarah felt the energy pulse through the group. It resonated with fear, yet transformed it into strength. It was as if the very walls of the church pulsed with the heartbeat of a unified spirit, each person linking hands, creating a lifeline against the void. But the creature did not relent. It lunged, swift like a shadow, slipping through the night, and with a roar that split the air, it collided with the barrier of light the congregation erected. Sarah braced herself. The explosion of dark tendrils splattered against them like ink spilling across a page, and for a moment, hope felt fragile like glass ready to shatter. As the darkness surged, Sarah felt the warmth of the woman's hand slip slightly out of her grip. Panic gripped her chest, sharp and cold. She looked over, only to meet the woman's fierce gaze, a determination carved from stone. "Embrace your fears," the woman bellowed, her voice soaring above the chaos. "Let them transform." The words resonated deeply within Sarah. Fear was not just a paralyzer. It was a crucible. She could feel it, a dark fire in her belly igniting, transforming dread into fierce resolve. With desperate focus, Sarah closed her eyes again, allowing the fear to flood in, raw and wild. Memories of loss, heartbreak, and despair slashed through her mind, but she didn't resist. She used them. Each dark recollection morphed in her heart, melding into a blinding blaze of self-acceptance and strength. From the depths of her spirit, she shouted, "We are not afraid. We will not bow to fear." The light between her and the woman flared like a beacon, pushing back against the tendrils clawing at their resolve. The others joined in, voices rising like a furious storm as they surrendered their fears and transmuted them into the light. Breathless, Sarah opened her eyes, and there was a radiant wave erupting from their joined hands, pushing against the darkness with an intensity that felt unstoppable. The creature recoiled, its shrieking howls mingling with the wild cries of the congregation. "Don't stop," Sarah cried out, sweat trickling down her brow. "Fuel it. Keep believing." The church trembled and surged with energy. The light almost felt tangible, a warm embrace pushing the shadows back. But just as victory shimmered on the horizon, a new chill flooded the room. The creature's voice warped into a low rumble, threading itself through the air like poison. "You think you've won? You think you have banished me?" Sarah's heart dipped into her stomach. "What do you mean?" Suddenly, The shadows writhed, coiling around the congregation once more. But this time they felt different. Like a beast preparing to spring, they grew denser, heavier, as the creature prepared for one final blow, a trick hidden in the dark. What more does it want? The question whipped through Sarah's mind, clawing at her sanity. The warmth faded, and the grip of fear threatened to consume them whole. The congregation flinched as the darkness surged closer, palpable and suffocating. They were united, but would unity be enough to face this new challenge? The monster's wicked. Laughter echoed in the night, and with it, a dreadful truth began to unravel. Would they discover the creature's true power before it was too late? The creature's laughter twisted through the church, a chilling soundtrack to their mounting despair. Shadows thickened, swirling like a malevolent storm, and Sarah felt her determination start to splinter under the weight of fear. She clutched the woman's hand tighter, drawing strength from that warmth, her anchor amidst the chaos. "Don't break," she shouted, her voice barely piercing through the oppressive gloom. It was becoming harder to breathe. The air thickened with dread, choking them as the darkness inched closer. She could feel eyes darting around the room in panic, hearts racing like drum beats in an echoing chamber. "We need to channel this," the old man urged, his voice strained yet firm. "Fear is powerful, but so is our faith. Breathe, everyone. Share it." Sarah closed her eyes, taking a deep breath to anchor herself. She pictured the light they had summoned, that radiant force before. It pulsed weakly now under the weight of the darkness, but she could fan that glow if she focused. "Together," she shouted, and although she felt her throat tightening, she pushed through. "Your fear can fuel our fire." Their cries mingled, a cacophony of defiance rising against the encroaching void. As the darkness lurched, tendrils snaked closer, curling like grasping hands seeking to pull them under. Yet within that darkness, Sarah felt a flicker of energy, a tiny spark of their collective will, ready to burst into flame. "Let us harness it." The words collided with the air. "Feel it, all of you. Transform that fear into strength." The congregation responded, hearts synchronizing, breaths mingling in urgency. Light flickered, rekindled, surging through the room like a current. The shadows pulsed, quivering in response, defying those iron clutches. With each heartbeat, her fears twisted, evolving not into shadows, but colors. Colors infused with hope. But in that moment of resurgence, the creature's voice became a chorus of anger, shrill and penetrating. "You think your light can conquer me? I am fear. I am despair. I thrive on your vulnerability." As he spoke, shadows lunged forward, slashing out like knives. Sarah gasped, feeling an icy grip on her heart. She stumbled backward as the congregation cringed collectively, a wave of terror washing over them that threatened to drown out their fragile light. "Fight it!" Someone shouted, "Focus!" And in that chaotic noise, that same woman from earlier met Sarah's eyes once more, fire igniting in her gaze. "Remember our strength, what we face together." With those words, something shifted in Sarah's mind. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a desperate rhythm battling against the tide of darkness. Drawing on every bit of strength, she whispered to the group, "Believe." Fire surged through them, and suddenly, the light roared back to life, bursting with renewed vigor. The golden glow became almost blinding, forcing the shadows back, yet they still writhed, refusing to capitulate. But in the heart of the chaos, something changed. Colors began to replace blackness, crimson streaks of courage mixed with brilliant golds of hope, and Sarah felt her grip on the woman's hand strengthen. They pushed together, driven by an unyielding resolve. Just as the light reached its peak, an overwhelming force struck their barrier. A sonic boom echoed through the church as the darkness screamed in tandem, and then silence. Everything stopped. A jarring stillness replaced the chaos, leaving the congregation frozen, breath held in their chests. The darkness shimmered, an unspeakable presence teetering on the edge. They had staved off despair, shown resilience. But was the battle truly over? Sarah's heart raced. The creature remained, lurking, testing their strengths in ways unknown. What new horror lay beneath the still surface, waiting patiently to strike? As she stood there, muscles taut with tension, a tremor began to stir beneath their feet, a reminder that the fight was far from over. What came next would determine everything. Terror and resolution mingled like oil and water in her gut. What other horrors lay hidden in the depths of that darkness? Would they truly emerge unscathed? The tremor intensified, reverberating through the church like the distant rumble of thunder. Every heart hitched as the ground pulsed beneath them, an unsettling rhythm that suggested something monstrous was awakening. The light flickered around Sarah, illuminating panic-stricken faces, each one reflecting the struggle between fear and hope. "Hold on," the old man shouted, steadying himself as he aimed his voice like a weapon against the darkness. "Keep the faith. Don't let back us down." But the shadows were inexorable, slithering back and forth, greedy tendrils curling around each person's ankles like icy hands intent on pulling them into the void. Sarah could feel the chilled grip of dread reaching for her, freezing her resolve. She gritted her teeth. They had fought hard to gain this feeble light. It was theirs to protect. The woman beside her squeezed Sarah's hand, a silent promise etched in the softness of her grip. Together, they would face this together. "We can't give up," she urged, her voice cutting through the thick atmosphere. "We're stronger than we know." Sarah nodded, pushing down her fear. She could still summon at the light, the hope. It lived in her and every person around her. The flicker within her heart began to spark alive again. "Together, we will conquer this." As if sensing the shifting tide, the creature's laughter rose again, a haunting melody soaked in venom. The shadows pulsed with renewed anger, swirling faster, encircling the congregation like a tightening noose. "You think your unity will save you?" The creature jeered, the words dripping with malice. "This is only the beginning." In that moment, shadows broke from their ranks, lunging toward the soft glow of hope the congregation dared to cling to. Panic surged. One man stumbled backward, terror splitting his expression. "No, we can't." A jagged shadow leaped forward, striking him down in an instant. His scream echoed, slicing through the tension like glass. The weight of despair crashed over the group, the sharp, unyielding fear that maybe they wouldn't all make it through. Gasps filled the air as they turned to see their fallen comrade. The old man stepped into the fray, determination heavy in his stance. "We won't let his sacrifice be in vain. Forward! We channel our love, our grief. Let it fuel our light." His voice rumbled deep, igniting a spark in others, but fear loomed large, curling around their hearts like vines. The trembling beneath their feet swelled. The church began to shake violently, as if the very foundation were crumbling. In that chaos, Sarah felt her breath shorten, every pulse of adrenaline urging her to flee, to hide from the impending doom. Yet she held onto the woman's hand, anchoring herself. With a collective breath, they closed their eyes, drawing in the fear, the sorrow, transforming it into defiance. Sarah felt a stirring of power, raw, visceral. They would fight. This time, she shouted louder. "We will rise." The brightness took hold, growing in intensity, flooding the space like a tidal wave against the fading shadows. They were a tapestry of light, woven together, illuminated not just by radiance, but by their shared strength. And just as the darkness lunged, the congregation united, merging their voices into one crescendoing battle cry. Suddenly, the ground shook more violently, as if responding to their declaration of defiance. The creature's laughter faltered, replaced by something more sinister and guttural, echoing with frustration. Then came the shift. A crack tore through the darkness, exposing a blinding light. It widened, spreading like wildfire, scorching the blackness that threatened to engulf them. But even as the shadows splintered, a chilling truth filled Sarah with dread. Something else lurked beneath, something far worse, awakening in their midst. What was happening? Someone stammered, eyes wide with terror. As the crack expanded, a figure began to rise from the fissure, formless and chaotic, swirling with a darkness that seemed to absorb the light. A whisper caught on the wind, a name that sent shivers through the crowd. With a horrific realization, Sarah's heart leaped into her throat. It's not over. What fresh nightmare was this? What had they truly unleashed? As the congregation braced for balance against the unknown, Sarah's mind raced. They thought they had fought darkness before, but what if they had only awakened true horror? The battle was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. Were they ready to face the depths of despair? Would their light endure the coming storm? The figure continued to rise, a swirling mass of darkness shaped like a storm cloud, its core a chaos of red-tinged shadows, claws stretching out, longing to tear apart the light they had fought so hard to maintain. A chill snaked through the church as the air thickened, heavy with despair. Sarah's heart raced, beats echoing like thunder in her ears. She looked around at the faces illuminated by panic and disbelief, each pair of eyes reflecting their collective fear as if they were staring into a mirror of their own growing dread. What was this unearthly creature? What did it want from them? The shadows writhed and twisted, coiling tighter around the congregation, feeding on their fear, their anguish. The old man's voice rang out again, stronger now, albeit under duress. Don't let it drown you. Our light is stronger. He staggered forward, pushing against the tide of darkness, determination etched into every line of his face. How can we fight something like that? A voice quavered from the back. It was one of the youth, wide-eyed and trembling. It's too much. The old man turned, his face fierce and worn but filled with an unwavering resolve. In moments like this, we must believe. We have each other. Use your love as a weapon, your shared light. Remember those we've lost. Let their memories fuel your strength. Inspired, Sarah squeezed the woman's hand harder, igniting a flicker of warmth within her chest. Yes, we remember them, she shouted. Every lost moment is a spark we carry forward. As she spoke, Sarah could feel the light within her throbbing, a heartbeat synchronizing with all those around her. It was a collective flame growing brighter in the face of overwhelming stagnation. Countless memories ignited, the laughter shared, the bonds forged, the love lost. Each burst of warmth pushed against the flaring shadows, but just as confidence surged within, a piercing shriek pierced through the darkness, a sound so devastating it made every soul in the church recoil. The creatures surged forward, tendrils sweeping out like lightning, striking multiple members, dragging them into a vortex of shadows. Their screams filled the air, cutting off the light, leaving behind echoes of desperation. No, someone yelled, pain slicing through their voice. We can't leave them. The shadows slithered closer, hungry for more, weaving through the group like a storm seeking to crush the last flickers of hope. Panic rushed back in, a vile tide washing over their resolve. Sarah felt her own courage dwindling in the face of such raw evil. Focus, the old man shouted, fighting against the creeping despair. Draw from each other, breathe, and let the light grow within you. Though fear clawed at her throat, Sarah took a deep breath, calling forth every ounce of courage still swirling inside. We must stand together, she cried again, her voice rising above the chaos. Their strength is our strength. We will not stand down. With a collective scream, they drew forth their light, a blinding explosion of hope that surged against the looming shadows. The creature recoiled, howling like a wounded beast. They pressed forward, unyielding, defiantly thriving in the brightness that once seemed so distant. But the battle wasn't close to over. As the darkness struggled, something within it writhed, a pulse that suggested it was awakening something even darker still. Sarah's instinct screamed, a warning flaring deep inside her. What lay beneath this soulless figure? And then, as they continued to pour their unified strength forward, another crack opened beneath the first, and an ominous whisper threaded through the air. It wasn't tea, just a threat. It was a promise: join me, or suffer, the voice cooed, chilling even the bravest hearts. There was a flicker of doubt. One last doubt that threatened to unravel everything. What else was lurking in the shadows? What more would they have to face? Sarah's thoughts spiraled into the abyss of what came next. Knowing their unity was both their greatest gift and their most dangerous challenge, as they prepared to confront not only the creature, but the darkness creeping ever closer within themselves. Was there light enough to face the next horror? Would it hold? The air in the church was electric, charged with tension and fear. Shadows twisted and flickered, the creature's presence a suffocating weight on everyone's chest. Sarah could feel the collective heartbeat of the congregation, a rhythm pulsing with resilience and desperation. They couldn't allow the darkness to consume them now. The creature lurked, tendrils of shadow stretching like grasping fingers. A glimmer of resolve ignited within Sarah. She could sense the flicker of light still alive, coursing through the hearts around her, growing brighter in defiance of despair. Together, she shouted, her voice cutting through the thick silence, rising above the chilling whispers of the abyss. Together, echoed the old man, rallying the crowd, desperation fueling his urgency. We cannot falter. We face our fears, and we fight. Remember our loved ones, those who stand with us. They will guide us. Each person in that church remembered someone lost, a face flickering before their eyes like a candle in the wind. Sarah squeezed the woman's hand, her anchor. They were linked by the strength born of their shared struggles. Together, they could draw on memories of love and sacrifice. Together, they would illuminate the darkness. If anticipating their unified cry, the creature roared, a guttural sound that reverberated through the walls. You think your memories will save you? It hollered, voice cold as ice. You cannot escape your own shadows. Fear gripped Sarah, but she steadied herself. Our shadows are not our chains. She shouted back, determination seeping into her bones. They're lessons that forged us. They are the light that guides us forward. More light, more strength. The woman beside her encouraged, eyes ablaze with purpose. Let every tear, every failure fuel our resolve. The congregation rumbled with energy, voices intertwining as they called forth their shared light. Each word became an incantation, a promise to fight back against the darkness. The shadows writhed, recoiling from their mounting courage, but they weren't finished yet. A blinding surge of warmth erupted from the gathered souls, a brilliant wave that flooded the church, illuminating every corner. This is our moment, Sarah shouted. We are powerful together. As the light surged, Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift, a rumble deep within the earth growing louder. Hold! Someone cried, but it was too late. The darkness lashed out, ripping through their resolve as the creature lunged, claws poised to tear apart their light. In that split-second moment, adrenaline surged through Sarah. Protect each other, she yelled, and as the shadows collided with their light, it formed a barrier, their hands clasped in unity, defiance radiating between them in colors of bravery they never knew existed. The monstrous figure paused, its essence flickering, hesitating as if it felt threatened for the first time. No, you cannot do this. It spat, rage boiling in its voice. Yes, we can. The old man cried, pouring all he had into the effort, sweat dripping from his brow. You cannot take what we refuse to give. A roar echoed through the depths of the creature, a turmoil of desperation and fury. It twisted and shrieked, clawing at the barriers, but with each strike, the light only grew brighter. Fear morphed into strength, guilt transformed into resolve. What if it awakened something even darker? A voice whispered from the crowd. It won tea. Sarah shouted back, her voice fierce and unwavering. We are not afraid of the dark or the truths it may hold. We are light. Our unity is our power. Suddenly, a wave of energy surged through the congregation, igniting their collective memories, transforming their grief into a blazing strength, charging toward the creature that threatened them. They were no longer just individuals. They were a force, an unwavering tide against despair. The creature screeched, a sound spiraling into rage as it found itself caught within the brilliance that erupted from their shared resolve. Tentacles of darkness recoiled, twisting away from the light, and with a final, desperate howl, the shadows began to recede, unveiling the radiance surrounding them. "I can't be defeated," the creature howled, its form battling against the onslaught of their combined light. "But you are," Sarah shouted, her voice filled with power. "This is where we draw the line." In one last surge of energy, they pushed the darkness back, and it shattered like glass, dispersing until it faded into nothingness. A brilliant light exploded throughout the church, illuminating every corner, every face, every heart. The oppressive air lifted, serenity washing over them like a soothing balm. Breathing heavily, Sarah looked around at the faces glowing with joy, love, and relief. They were still standing, united, no longer shadows of their past, but beacons of strength. As the dust settled, the creature lay vanquished, its presence wiped clean from their reality, leaving the congregation in a comforting aura of warmth and hope. The sunlight streaming through the church windows cast rainbows across the floor, a kaleidoscope of colors celebrating their victory. The woman beside Sarah smiled, eyes shining with gratitude. "We did it," she whispered, disbelief mingling with relief. "Yes," Sarah replied, feeling the strength still echoing in her bones. "We are free." All around them, others began to cheer, embracing one another, tears mingling with laughter. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious. Sarah could see it in every face, the realization that together they were capable of anything. And there, beneath the shimmering light, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had unlocked her day, perhaps even her life, forging a new path filled with hope, connection, and love. As the sun shone brightly over Maplewood, the townspeople of the old church emerged into a new world, shadows banished but their past still woven into their hearts, guiding them toward brighter tomorrows. But in that moment, they knew together they could face anything, come what may. And as they stepped outside, the air crackled with possibility. What began as a chill morning had transformed into something beautiful. A reminder that every dawn carried the chance for renewal, and every prayer contained a spark of light waiting to be kindled. Now, this is your chance to share in that light. If you felt the hope and strength of this story, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now. Don't let another amazing moment pass you by. Smash that like button to help spread this story to even more people. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Let's uplift each other and build a community united by light.